Oh my god, it is like 60 degrees out here at noon, which is about 15-ish for you Celsius people. And that's not that bad, right? But I am so cold. This is like not a comfortable temperature for me. I don't know how I'm gonna make it through the rest of the winter. I don't know how I do it every year because I am always so upset when it gets cold. And yesterday around this time it was a little over 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is definitely more my kind of temperature. Of course, that is unseasonably warm for the end of October in our area, but I wasn't complaining. And now today is Tuesday, October 31st. Tomorrow, November 1st, is our first frost. It is coming. Tonight is getting down to 36, and tomorrow night it's getting down to 31. And that means everything in the garden that is frost tender needs to get harvested, because otherwise it will turn to mush. And that is definitely not ideal for the produce that we worked hard on all season. So this garden tour is mostly about what I'm doing to prep for that, all the things that are going to have to change pretty much immediately because the frost is coming. And it's on time, surprisingly, especially considering the super warm October that we've had. The first thing to take care of is this lemongrass. This is a frost tender plant. I am pretty sure I'm just going to go ahead and harvest the whole thing and then take a cutting of that, or a section of it, I guess, because it's kind of a clump. I'll take a section of it and reroot it indoors so that I have a plant to put back in the ground next summer. But this is going to take a lot of work because I have to be like super prepared to come harvest this. Running your fingers this way along the leaves, fine. Running them backwards, it's like sharp sandpaper. You can cut yourself pretty easy on these. So this will have to be a whole project that I prep for either later today or tomorrow. Right next to the lemongrass, you can see one of my ginger plants here. This will have to get harvested before the freeze as well. I think I could theoretically leave it in the ground with a fair bit of mulch over the top of it, and because it doesn't get that cold here, it could come back, but I'm not really banking on that. So I'm gonna harvest most of my ginger. Maybe I'll leave a couple of little bits out just to test that theory, but most of this is coming inside and it is going to get either dried or frozen or candied. Gosh, look how pretty these zinnias are. Even when the leaves look like this, the flowers, still days before the freeze coming. Just absolutely gorgeous. All of the basil along here is going to die as soon as it freezes. It's already gone to seed. Oh, hello, Mr. B. I think he's taking a nap. All of this has gone to seed. I haven't been eating off of it for a while because once it goes to seed, you can see the leaves it makes are much smaller and the flavor is quite different. So basils will die, they'll come out. You can see the marigolds are also not happy with the cooler temperatures we've been having at night. This doesn't look nearly as vibrant as it did last week. You can see a couple of flowers still doing okay, but most of these are dying. So this will die. I'm probably not going to do anything with it. I'll just let it die and maybe chop it off and lay it down. These bigger, woodier stemmed plants like the basil gets pretty woody near the end of the year. That will go into the compost pile. But we have plants ready to take their place. This broccoli right here is doing really wonderfully, and actually all of these brassicas are about to come into their peak, I think, you know, right after the frosts and cold temperatures like that is when plants like this actually start to get sweet. I've mentioned this before, but basically the reason that they are sweeter after a frost is because they are protecting themselves from the frost. Water freezes at 32 Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius, and adding sugar to water actually lowers the freezing point, so it has to be colder before that sugar water freezes. So if a plant concentrates sugars in its leaves, then it can survive colder temperatures without that water inside the cells freezing and then expanding like ice does, and thus bursting the cells. So the cold is actually really, really great for a lot of these winter vegetables. Here along the trellis you can kind of see the dead beans. This was my blue cocoa pole beans, and they are now completely dead. They were not happy with even cooler temperatures at night. I went ahead and picked all of the dried beans off of these, and I can actually show you guys later how much I harvested from just these 2 plants. But it's a fair amount of dried beans, and this trellis will get cleared off eventually, but that's not a big priority because I don't have anything coming up right now that would actually need this trellis. Oh my goodness, I did not think any of my broccolis were heading up yet, but I just saw this. That is actually huge, considering I hadn't seen literally anything up until now. I guess I've just been busy looking at everything else. But if you didn't know, the reason that this is called a broccoli floret is because it is little flower beds that haven't yet expanded. So this will get a little bit bigger, and then I will cut it, and hopefully, if you look under here, side shoots will start coming up and make more mini broccoli heads for me. Now that's not just a giant broccoli head, but you know, having grown 0 before this, I'd be really happy with that. Those of you who've been following along might know this better than me, but I think I put out baby transplants for all of these broccolis and stuff in August, when it's still really quite hot outside, especially here. Maybe it was early September, something like that. But they've been in the ground for a while. They actually don't mind the heat so much, but like I said, they're not going to be super tasty in the heat. They're going to be tasty after it freezes. So setting it up such that they are getting big right as the frost is coming is pretty ideal. All right, let's take a look at this second row. We have under here some fava beans that I planted, probably a month ago now. They're doing great, and they will survive pretty much all winter here unless it gets unreasonably cold for this area. We also have behind me all my little rutabagas that look absolutely terrible, but are somehow still alive. So hopefully we will see something from that, but I'm not really holding my breath on this area. Then the rest of all of this, like almost everything here, has to come out. Eggplant won't survive the freeze. Peppers won't survive the freeze. There's more ginger back here. I do have a few plants coming in to take their place. Not a whole lot. There's a baby spinach down here. That's what this is. It's struggling. There's also some dwarf peas. That's what this is right here. Yeah, if I leave these outside, oh my goodness, my voice. If I leave these outside and it freezes, it's like putting, this pepper in the freezer. It will go to mush. So we gotta get, that just fell right off. We gotta get all of these indoors today or tomorrow. Well, theoretically today would be good if I end up having the time. And then whether or not I actually get the skeletons of the plants out, that's not as important. But if I can, I probably will, just to make sure that, the peas I've planted and all this other stuff actually has room to get big and grow. And I'll probably use that to visually show myself where I need more plants to fill in, because, these peas are really small. That spinach is really small. I could use a ton more plants in here to kind of keep the ground covered over winter. Speaking of rutabagas, I still have this one in the path here. I might have harvested it by now, except I knew that the frost was coming, and if I wait just a couple more days, it'll be much tastier. Its little friend in the path here, I actually, I should look up whether or not dill will survive a frost or not, because if it won't, then this has all got to get picked and dried. But if it will, maybe I'll just leave it. And keep pulling, I keep pulling the outer leaves so that I can pull them into dry, and it keeps making more new little ones. This is usually where Lenny lives, but I don't see Lenny today. I saw her yesterday. I wonder if it got a little too cold or if she's just hiding out somewhere. I did disturb the corn a lot yesterday, so maybe she decided that she needed to abandon this web spot. But I pulled all of my popcorn out of here, and these are just dead stalks now. Those are indoors drying. And then back behind the corn we have this big section of brassicas, which should be mostly Brussels sprouts. They are getting big really fast now. Like, I just feel like I turned away for 2 seconds, and like especially this one over here, it just ballooned out. I'm surprised that these potatoes are still doing okay in here. I know that they can handle a little bit of cold, but they are doing surprisingly well under here. I don't actually see any Brussels sprouts coming on, but you can see these little things right here. That should become my Brussels sprouts. There's little things in the armpits of the leaves. And while we're back here, we'll just turn around and look at the hot pepper patch. You can see right in front of me, these Tabascos, most of them are unripe. And that is really unfortunate for me, because they're not going to make quite as good of a sauce this year. You can see I do have quite a few ripe ones that I can pick, but I've been waiting and waiting, and I'm highly considering this would be the one area that I would cover to try and get it through the frost, because there is warm weather coming up after the frost, and you know, if I can get it through, then I might have like another week or so for these to actually finish ripening. So that might honestly be worth it to me, but I'll have to take a look at that when I'm not in the middle of talking to you guys, and really think about how I'm gonna make this work and whether or not it is worth the risk. If I did do this, I would pull off all of the ripe ones, I would leave the unripe ones, I would cover it with my fleece that I have, and I would make sure that it got covered in the middle of a sunny part of the day so that the heat could kind of build up under that. The ground should still be fairly warm, so it should radiate up underneath the fleece as well, giving it a couple of degrees. You know, maybe, I think the fleece I have is rated for like 5-ish degrees, which, you know, when you're hovering right around 31 would be enough to save them theoretically. I could also double it up to make it warmer, but the problem with that would be A, getting it to reach all the way up and over this area, but also 2, if I didn't take it off during the day, it could heat up really hot in here and just kill them with the heat, honestly, because the temperature swing, like I said, it was 80 degrees outside in the middle of the day yesterday. The temperature swing here is wild, and 80 degrees with a cover would be really bad for these plants. Looking at these blue butterfly peas, I'm actually really surprised that they're still looking as good as they are. I didn't think that they would be so amenable to the colder temperatures. And I do have lots of pods on here now, but I haven't seen any like actually super mature pods. You know, none of them have turned brown or kind of gotten the way that other bean pods would when the seeds are ready. A lot of these are fresher and flat. They haven't even formed the seeds in them yet. So I'm starting to get kind of anxious about whether or not these will actually make viable seeds for me before everything dies. And then on my other arched trellis, I do have noodle beans still. I've been pulling off the dried ones when they come in, like this one. This one's pretty much dried out. This one is still not quite mature. You can see how it's still really firm. The ones that I could pick that haven't dried out but are still going to be mature are ones like these. You can see it's way bigger, a little more wrinkled, and it's not nearly as firm. You can feel that the seed inside has started separating from the meat of the bean itself. So I would probably take all of these inside today and let them finish drying before I go ahead and shell them. Oh, we've got an ant friend. If I come down here, you can actually also see the peas coming up this trellis already. There's about 5 or 6 plants on this side, 5 or 6 on the other side. They're doing really well. They're starting to get established just as the cold is coming in. I think this is also pretty good timing on these. Hopefully we will get some fall peas this year. My nasturtium is happier than ever. and actually finally making seeds, even though it's been flowering all summer, which I find really interesting that they only make seeds once it gets cooler. But I'm going to be harvesting a lot of these for seed stock, and then once I feel like I have enough of those, everything else will get pickled and become a caper. As far as the flowers and leaves, I think these are frost tender, so I will have to pull all of this and either make tincture or potentially dry them. Probably tinctures would be the way to go, but this whole thing would be a lot of tincture, so I don't know if I'll end up using it all. So here at the front of my last row, I have my onion seedlings. These are actually looking way better than I expected them to. They're actually getting kind of big. These ones that I started a little later are smaller, but they're still doing fine. I am ordering onion seedlings as well, just because I don't really trust that I will have enough here. I'm hoping for something like at least 100 onions. I would like to have maybe more than that, because this year I barely had any. This does not look like 100 onions to me. I'm not going to sit here and count, but this does not look like 100. So I ordered more, and if I have extra, I have people I can give them away to. I generally overwinter my onions, so I plant the starts in, last year I planted them in November, I think late November actually. And this year I'm going to wait a little longer. I buy from Dixondale Farms, the starts, and they recommend starting in January for my area. So I'm going to go ahead and follow their advice this year and see how that turns out. These ones that I have here, they will just go in the ground whenever they are about the same size as the ones that I would normally get from Dixondale. And until then, they'll just stay in these little pots outside because they are pretty frost hardy. Onions are. Also next month is garlic starting. Probably also start those mid to late November. For garlic, it's super easy. I have a video up here if you want to watch it, but you just take your bulb and separate it out and put each individual clove in the ground about as far apart as the bulbs are big, and then mulch over that. They will come up right through it so easily when the time is right. We've got more broccoli plants over here. These ones I'm particularly excited to see start making broccoli heads, because these are Romanesco, which are those pretty swirly broccoli head things. And you'll see what I mean if they actually do make those heads. But something I should have mentioned earlier, in the meantime, these leaves are edible. Once the frost has come, they'll be really nice and sweet, and you can cook them up kind of like kale. Also around here, we have my lettuces, which are doing really well. I've also been waiting until it got colder to harvest off of these, because again, these will be much tastier if it's chilly outside. But these are looking really great. I maybe should have planted more of these out, and I do still have a few neglected seedlings that I could throw in the ground. Back here I do also have some sweet potato vines. The sweet potatoes will have to get dug up because those are not frost hardy. Cosmos have been making cute little seed heads like this, and the flowers are still looking absolutely gorgeous, the fresh ones. This is another flower that I'm finding is really great all season, but it seems to actually really like the cold. So maybe I will be planting these earlier next season as well. Alright, let's talk about this whole area back here. First of all, my fig tree has dropped all its leaves. I assume that is because of the temperature. However, I am a novice fig tree owner and am never quite sure about these things, because I also transplanted it. I basically took it out of the pot, put more dirt in, and put it back in. So didn't really disturb the roots much. But the other fig trees in my neighborhood have also started dropping leaves, so I'm not like super concerned about it. I know that they should go dormant in the winter. And this is a brown turkey fig for anybody who knows more than I do about what that means. Most everything else in here is perennial, and it should survive the frost. The only thing that won't is this Mexican tarragon. So really I should just cut it all off at the soil and bring it inside to dry. This, I think, is perennial in that it dies back to the soil level, and then this came back from the root ball this year. I don't know how many years in a row it'll do that, but if I want this to be usable herb, I must take it in before the freeze. As far as this raised bed goes, we have the chamomile, which will die. I've been letting it go to seed so that I can collect some for next year. Parsley should be fine. Chives should be fine. My new little thyme should be fine. Carrots will definitely be fine. I'm actually starting to see, you see that under there? Starting to see roots on these, which is really exciting. Carrots are another thing that will be sweeter after the frost. Fall carrots are sweeter than spring carrots for that reason. Greek oregano, also fine. My lemon thyme, honestly, not doing fine. It looks really awful back here. I think it got spider mites. You can kind of see the way it's all glued together with what looks like spider web, and the leaves have kind of died. That's really unfortunate, but at least it doesn't seem to be affecting any of the plants that are right here around it. The berry patch is gonna stop changing for a while. Blueberries will go dormant. We have my garlic chive here, which might still stay green through the winter. And then the strawberries, once it gets cold enough, these will die back as well, but they will come right back as soon as the weather warms up. Same with the blackberries and the raspberries up there. So I almost forgot to show you guys my beans. These are all of the dried beans from my blue cocoa. This is 2 plants worth. And keep in mind, I also was eating the fresh pods off of these 2 plants. This is the size of the bowl. I will go weigh them and put that number up here on the screen for you. But yeah, just so you are aware, these are not just seeds, but also perfectly edible dried beans as well. Alright guys, well that is all I have for you today. Next time you see the garden, it will be on the other side. But thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to catch up on any garden tours you missed, I will leave that playlist right here. Until next time, happy gardening!